But I think there's also that unhealthy competition where, someone may be driving to be like the shiniest coin in the box, right? They want to be the sharpest tool in the shed, and they will do that at all costs, right? It doesn't matter who they step on. It doesn't matter whose skills they diminish. It doesn't matter who they throw under the bus. It really doesn't matter.
How are you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, we're going to be talking about a competitive environment versus a non-competitive environment and how that applies to corrections. Is it good to have a competitive environment, or should we have a passive environment? We're going to talk about the balance, the pros and cons. Guys, Connie is going to share into this discussion. She has recommended this dialogue because, again, even in today's world, we are a highly competitive society now. So how does that play out into corrections and the roles that we have to perform, both as individuals, but also as a team? We're also sponsored by three entities: American Military University. If you guys are looking to go back to school and bring experience into the classroom, check out American Military University. It's a great school. If you guys get a chance, check out the website. It's an online school. They support what we do on Tier Talk. More importantly, they support what we do in corrections. We also have Guardian RFID from Inmate Tracking and Cell Checks, the cloud-based business and artificial intelligence. Guardian RFID digitally transforms jails, prisons, and juvenile detention facilities of every size. Visit guardianrfid.com for more information. Guys, check out their YouTube channel too. The YouTube channel will kind of give you a little bit more details as to what this company offers, the technology they have. It's just a great overall company, and they support what we do in corrections. They support what we do in Tier Talk. And the wrap: controlling combative subjects quickly in an upright position so they can breathe has never been more important. Departments such as Washington, D.C., LA County, San Diego County, and hundreds of other facilities across the U.S. trust and believe in the wrap restraint. That's the wrap, W-R-A-P. Go to saferestraints.com for contact information and mention Tier Talk to receive instructor training at no cost. Lower liability for your facility and your personnel with the wrap. Give the wrap a call today, 800-WRAP-911. Again, guys, if you don't know what the wrap is, there's a link in the description of this video that will show you exactly what the wrap is. Now, you guys don't realize this, but this took like 3 takes, so Connie's just waiting in the wings like, are you done, man? Come on, man. But I had trouble saying the word competitive. That's a very tough word in the English language, tough word for me. But Connie, thank you for the wonderful suggestion. Connie, do you mind introducing yourself to our audience, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Connie Alleyne here. I am the founder and president of the Civilian Corrections Academy. I'm also the podcast host of The Fly Behind the Wall and the author of The Cage Was Her Cocoon. Tonight's discussion, I'm looking forward to, only because I've seen competition in the workplace play out in a not so healthy way. And I think as we are considering how we are moving forward as an organization and how our culture is evolving, we want to make sure we don't fall into some of those pitfalls.
Yes, I agree, guys. And the reason why we want to have this dialogue is because we could work in a highly competitive environment, especially when we're going for promotions and there's limited positions available. And next thing you know, the brotherhood, sisterhood that we had prior to this offer of a promotion now tends to kind of start going downhill because we now become individualists and we worry about ourselves and we'll do whatever we can to get to the top. So I definitely think it's a great dialogue. Now, we could pretty much, I know we're talking about competitive versus non-competitive environment. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'll have Connie go first. There's got to be some competition in this environment because we're looking to bring out the best in people. It's just how the competition or how being competitive, how that relates to the workplace and, more importantly, the employee morale. So Connie, I mean, we could pretty much say competitive versus non-competitive environment. Obviously, there has to be some level of competition to bring people to be the best, the most effective. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I think our system is set up for people to be competitive, right? So it's a paramilitary organization. And so by nature, there is some competition sort of built into our existence. I think we see healthy competition in different ways though, right? So when I realize that we're both working towards the same mission and maybe we're both trying to figure out how to do this thing the best way, like I feel like that's a good competition because it's driving innovation, it's driving us to think outside the box, it's driving us to troubleshoot and consider all of the various options, right? But I think there's also that unhealthy competition where, someone may be driving to be like the shiniest coin in the box, right? They want to be the sharpest tool in the shed, and they will do that at all costs, right? It doesn't matter who they step on. It doesn't matter whose skills they diminish. It doesn't matter who they throw under the bus. It really doesn't matter. And I think sometimes it gets that way when, maybe you have a supervisor who doesn't see that this person is not being a team player. The supervisors are only seeing the outcome, which this person has produced. I think sometimes there could be, because there's that scarcity, right? Like there's only two top spots, right? And so there's an unhealthy way that competition might be driving people to get to those two top spots. For whatever reason, those two spots are coveted, right? I think about, rotations on posts. Some people want this is the good post, which is, maybe it's not so active, it's not so crazy, maybe it is, and that's where people want to be. Like, who knows the rhyme or reason behind why people are vying for certain positions. But I do feel like there's a way that if we're not careful, we can start sort of isolating ourselves or isolating others, so that we are the winners, right? So yeah.
Well, that's where the balance comes in, Connie. I think that's so beautifully said. The balance comes in is okay, if we're competing now, if the competition isn't healthy, you're right. We tend to hide things from each other because we're looking more to be the best as opposed to competition's meant to grow. I know there's an old boxing scenario. I forget who said it. I think it's Joe Frazier. And I'm not a boxing fan, so I'm going to shoot the shit out of this one, but basically he said, competition, right? So basically he said that the learning process, the most important thing about boxing is the practice. The ring is just your chance to be recognized. The growth happens during practice. So I assume that for me, if we're going to have a competitive environment that's, a healthy competitive environment, we're pushing for growth. So if it gets to a point where we're stepping on each other to get to that number one spot, that's not growth now, guys. Now we haven't had control of what could be a healthy environment. That's why I believe you have to have some level of competition, as long as it's healthy, to push people, to get people to give above and beyond. But again, if you wind up going too far, because there is a fine line, and now people are doing whatever they can to get to the top, now you start building an environment where there's no trust. I remember, again, we're talking about promotions. I also remember there were lateral moves to like crossing into the gang world and gang investigations. And, at one point you want to help each other, but if there's only that one position, then you're going to see that people are no longer sharing information. They're hiding it. They're hoarding it, because the problem is if I give you too much, now there's a chance that you can get the position over me. What's funny too is when you have people that are battling for promotions, you may have a bunch of people that are studying together because I would like to say they're studying to help each other grow. I would like to say that, but you could only really figure that out when the test results come in. And then you could see how everybody reacts after that. Are we really proud that even though I didn't get it, but I did help Connie? Am I really proud that Connie got it? Am I really happy for her? Or am I upset that how the hell could she have scored higher than me because we studied together? So for me, you actually see what Connie said. The moment the resources become very limited, and as I said, here we are helping each other grow. And here's the sad thing about this, Connie. Do you know that when we're studying to pass this test, we pretty much start knowing everything that there is to know about what we need to know for this profession. And we're so worried about the fact that, well, I didn't get the position. Hold on. I get that. That's the destination. I get that. But look how much you improved. Yeah. Look how better you are now at knowing the job. And maybe maybe you'll get it next time. Maybe it wasn't your opportunity at this point. But now the problem is we get so mad that we didn't get it that now the person that did, we kind of push them away. And then when the person moves up, we try to say, well, you don't remember your roots. Well, you didn't support me when I was moving up. Jealousy came in. And next thing you know, I thought it was a healthy competition. I thought we were growing together. But the moment I got the position and you didn't, it became jealousy and hate. So are we really doing what we can to promote growth? Because I'm going to say competitive environment is growth. Are we doing what we can to promote growth? Or are we really selfish in our motive? And when someone else gets to that position, we disregard the whole process and we get jealous of the outcome. Connie, what's your thoughts? I mean, I'm sure you've seen that, correct?
Yeah. I mean, you see the jealous of the outcome, right? But I'm like, how do we flip that to something healthy, right? So we're both studying, you get it, and imagine I'm your go-to person because you know what I know, and I know what you know. I can count on and trust your knowledge because we studied this together, right? Like, I feel like that's where the healthy comes, because that's the point at which we're going to be advancing the organization. We're advancing, whatever the department is that we're in. Wherever we are, we're going to rock it, right? And I think that's part of the unlocking potential, is that it is that journey that we're growing, we're learning together, we're growing, we're learning, we're pushing each other to be better. We're pushing each other to like get to our greatest potential in the moment. And, I think there are those moments where like, yeah, the outcome is the outcome, right? And we may not be happy with that outcome. I didn't get the position, this one got it. Does that now mean though, that relationship that we've built as we were trying to grow and push each other together no longer matters? Does that mean I'm no longer your brother or your sister because I got the position and you didn't? So I think that the more that we focus on the healthiness or the journey and not so much on just the winning, because I think that's where it is too. I think there's that emotional piece that is attached to winning and losing, right? So as much as we want to talk about there being this healthy competition and non-competitive environment, like, we have to acknowledge that there are emotions that are attached to winning and losing, right? And so there may be a period that we have to allow people to go through whatever those emotional feelings are. But like, I think you also have to look at, so if someone won, right, you're the winner, what does that mean? And how does that winning change your behavior at all? And if you lost, what does that mean? Because the outcome doesn't mean that the competition was unhealthy. The outcome could just still mean it was a healthy competition, and then we didn't know how to cope at the end. So, as I'm thinking about it now, I think about those people who, perhaps internally or internal to facilities, we are incentivizing the wrong behaviors, right? Because do we praise the journey? Right? Because if we're praising the journey and recognizing people on the journey, is it as bad to take a loss? Right? Like, I got my praise all along the way. When you get that loss, if you happen to not be the winner, maybe there's something in there that I think, we could be doing to make it healthier in the environment. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the funny thing is, though, it's how we perceive it ourselves subjectively. I know we're tossing out win-loss, and I get it, because obviously there is something to win. And if you get it, then the other person doesn't get it. But the funny thing is, I don't want to say it's a loss because it was never theirs to begin with. So technically, yeah, but you know what I'm saying? So technically,
Right.
It's more of an achievement. At this point, it was my time to achieve this moment.
But then I might feel like a failure if I didn't achieve it.
Yeah, you know what? I get it, but the thing is, you know what? I get it. My concern is that if we're all working together and we're really trying to get people to kind of grow together as a team, then no matter who moves up, it's a team achievement. It's us looking at it individually as if you know what, this success is just theirs, when technically it should be a success for us all. Because as I said, if me and you, Connie, are working together for many years and you get the promotion before me, it's still a win. I don't want to say win. It's still an achievement for the team, because you know you're a big connection to who we are and what we represent, and now you're having that chance to go to the next level and bring that with you. You know, so what we don't want to do is give a reason for someone to not want to bring that with them. And I think when it comes to management has to do what they can to know that there's when we have this environment, when we have these promotions, you know, or lateral transfers are tough because some of them are just, it's not based on a test. It's more of, I already know who I want and I'm just going to go through the formality. But in the end, I'm picking Gangi because that's who I want anyway. So I get that. I've been through that. I've been frustrated over that. And to be honest with you, it's more about the promotions when you're kind of, everybody's got an equal chance at something. Let me more focus on that. I don't mean that we shouldn't celebrate the people that take those laterals. I'm sure that for some, maybe there are some honest selections in that. But for the most part, there are going to be some people that question that. I know if there's a test system and we all have that equal chance, so we're all starting at zero and we're working each other together. What I would like to do, honestly, is if I was management, after the test results came out, we know that there's going to be a hit to this crazy momentum that we just had about growth. I know that. Like, I know, guys, I have worked in facilities where when we know the tests are coming out, everybody's the strongest in all details that they have to know about policy, procedure, you know, the laws that have been passed, because again, they're on top of their game. They're the best that they can be. And now what happens is when the results come out and they don't get selected, everything drops, because all of a sudden people think, well, everything I learned, I don't need it no more, because like Connie said, and I said, they wanted that position. That's why they defined their whole journey of everything they've done was because I wanted that position. Now that I don't get that position, everything I've done in the past 6 months or however long it was to study for the test meant nothing. And you, as management, you have to make sure that you don't let people stay in that mindset. There's got to be something that can be done to continue that momentum, because there's crazy momentum happening when we're studying. We're bettering ourselves. We're growing. And all of a sudden, the results come out of the test, and then there's that stop. Now, the sad thing is the momentum has stopped, so we don't know if we're going to go forward or if we're going to move backwards. So management now has to do what they can to get behind the employees that may have suffered what they feel to be a loss, and to keep that momentum going, and to keep that support going for the people that have made the position, and let the staff know, hey, guys, what you did this whole course of time wasn't a waste. You know, it wasn't a waste. So, I mean, Connie, just from a management perspective, is there anything that can be done to keep that momentum moving forward so it doesn't get lost when people are more focused about, well, I didn't get the position, so screw this job?
So I think sometimes as managers, we don't necessarily want to deal with it, right? And so we don't talk about it, right? Whereas I feel like we have to keep the conversation. Like, I think the more transparent we are about it, like, hey, listen, we know the test is coming up. Everybody's studying. This is great. We encourage you guys, blah, 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 whatever that speech is, right? But then even after the test comes out, like, I think there has to be that proactive thought that, you know, morale is going to take a hit, right? There's but so many positions available. We know, 50 of our people took this test. There's going to be a significant downturn at a point, right? And so what do we do to proactively talk about that, right? Like, say, hey, listen, we hope everybody's done great. We know there's only a few positions, whoever get it, we're going to be happy for that person. We're going to support that person. And then whoever else, maybe we can proactively talk about ways that we can use the knowledge that they've acquired, right? Like, we can still be encouraging them proactively so that it's not oh, I took the test, I didn't get it, and so now all of that effort was for nothing, because that's not true. We've now already said, oh, here's some things we could do with all this information you've learned, right? And I'm not saying to push people to work beyond the scope of their title. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that having that healthy conversation, right? Acknowledging there's going to be some disappointment, acknowledging though that all the effort is not for naught, right? Like all the effort is acknowledged, and we know that knowledge is still going to be tremendous to bring into the facility and to help us to be more effective, to help us to work better as teams, to help us to problem solve better. Like whatever that thing is, I think as managers we have to be very open about communicating about that. And for those who, like, somebody's in a crappy disposition for whatever reason, right? Like be willing to go talk to that person. Say, hey, listen, I know you didn't get the position, but here's what we can do to try to help you for next time. Or, hey, I know that this may be coming out. Stay prepared, because then you could apply for next time. Like whatever that conversation is, I think it really matters that we don't allow these situations to just happen and then we don't talk about it at all.
Right. And guys, again, we could expect something from management. I get that, but it's also how we view our motives when we're going through this process. Like, am I partnering up with Connie because I figure she's the one that can help me grow? Or am I partnering up with Connie because I figure we can help each other grow? Can I provide value to Connie? Can Connie provide value to me? And the cool thing is, guys, if we are invested in helping each other grow, then I would like to think that Connie's success is also my success. I would like to think so. I mean, I've recently dealt with that right now. I was shut down from something, but someone I worked with got something. And the funny thing is I was upset that I didn't get it, but this person's success made me feel great. It kind of negated how I felt, the selfish feeling of me not getting this position. But then in turn, I helped somebody get a position, and it kind of gave me my worth. Like I may not have gotten the outcome I wanted with that aspect, and then I may start questioning my worth about, man, am I worth it? I mean, do I have value for this job? Why didn't I get this position? Because a lot of time we start internalizing the fact that we didn't get the position, and we start looking at ourselves and wondering why we didn't get the position. But sometimes, guys, it truly is situational. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. It's just the fact that, situations, it just wasn't your time. But then to see someone else become successful and then be able to kind of live that with them and just kind of find your value in that, your value in helping someone grow. I mean, one of the things I've learned recently, and definitely through what I've been reading, is that we are servants to each other, especially as leaders. If we want to be leaders, we have to serve each other. And what a great way to serve when you're helping someone grow. And Connie mentioned this before, so I don't want to forget this, is when we talk about competition and having a healthy competitive environment, we talk about being effective. When we mean that, that talks about we're helping people reach their potential. We're pushing them past the limit so they can understand that I'm better. A lot of people just settle for the status quo until someone pushes them. Now, having said that, that's a healthy competition because we're growing, we're moving forward, and we're doing it to better the team. It only becomes selfish when, in the end, it was all about the outcome and not about the growth. Connie, competition, does that equal true potential, or could it equal true potential?
So I think so. I mean, I think about it almost as like when you have a coach, right? Like, or when you go to a personal trainer, like someone may go exercise, workout, whatever they're doing on their own, and then they plateau, right? And I think it's kind of similar to like when we're in these facilities, we're in these positions for like years and years and years, and then we plateau, like we're not learning anymore. We're not, maybe there's nothing challenging us today or challenging us anymore. Right. And so I feel like that healthy competition is kind of like that coach that's saying there's more, you have more, like you have more to give, like there's more in you. And you might think like, nah, I'm there. I've arrived. Right. Until you start to expose yourself to different things that shows you like, oh, wow, I learned something new just going through this process. And I think as you talked about, focusing on the journey as opposed to the outcome, I think that is where the magic is, right? The magic is in the journey because it is pushing us beyond that space of plateau, right? It's putting us in a space where we're reaching a potential we didn't even know we had, and so maybe someone may be focused on the outcome and you didn't get that position this time, but look at how much better you are as a person. Look at how much more effective you are. Look at the knowledge you've amassed over that time and how it can be applied in so many different spaces. So like, yeah, I do believe that, there is growth in the competition because it will kind of push you to do better. It's almost like your internal push, because now that competition is like, all right, like, I mean, I think about sports, right? Like someone's running a marathon, someone wants to finish first, right? So they train and train and train and train in order to finish first, right? And so it's almost like, so if you want to be the best, you're trying to reach the pinnacle of your knowledge base or the pinnacle of your potential, like you train and train and train. And I think that learning journey is where that happens.
Yeah, and I would like to say, guys, that everything that Connie said and I have said is easy to do, but it's not. Because when you don't get that position, you are hit hard with emotions. But you have to make sure that, you don't let those emotions overwhelm you to the point that you're pushing away the people that you've helped grow during this process. I mean, you have to ask yourself, again, what that motive is the whole way through. And if you're sincere with that motive, then yes, of course, you're going to be upset because you didn't get it. But there is a balance there when the person you help got it. And that's where we have to try to maintain that connection. And I believe that's also how we grow as a team. I really do. I think competition could be healthy, but it's a very, very fine line, because if it's not walked correctly, you're looking at an environment that could be very divisive. Information gets hidden. People could wind up getting belittled. I mean, again, but if it's meant where we know we're competing to bring the best out of each other, and we're able to maintain.
I don't want you to skip your point. I think that point about competition being divisive, I think we have to really be mindful that competition can create that division, and that's not what we need or want.
Right. And that's where the balance comes between us and then also management, to make sure that, we try to have an environment that, is not sparing in the resources. Because again, if we're all fighting for resources, I mean, especially when you have positions that, maybe once every 20 years it gets offered, now, it's like, okay, it's all or nothing now. And in the end, guys, we do want people to come together. And this is a great time when people do come together. But then the adverse of that is when the results come out, everybody starts to separate. But again, I think for the people that are trying to, help out, trying to make people grow, get that potential going, you're doing it to help the team grow. You're doing it to help someone else grow. In the process, you yourself will grow. But in the end, don't look at the outcome. You got the position or you didn't get the position. In the long run, that none of that matters. Sad to say, but none of it matters. The point is, I love what Connie said. Did you grow?
Yeah.
Did you grow professionally? Did you grow personally? Let that be what it is that you look for. And then whatever else comes after that is a bonus. So during the test time, I'm looking to grow personally and professionally. Let's give it a shot. And in the end, if I get it or not, it doesn't matter, because I know I've grown. And I know my connection to my people have grown. So even if this other person gets it, we all achieve something. Connie, anything you'd like to say in closing?
Well, there's one thing I wanted to say before we close, right? We had talked about, prior to us having this conversation, we had talked about, I think you had used Russ as an example of, Russ is known for finding a needle in the yard, right? Like he could find anything. And so we talked about, that whole, how does competition play out when, you want others to be able to kind of be as effective as Russ, right? And so, what I've been thinking about is, how do we create sort of the narrative that all of us being effective is mutually beneficial, right? Like it's beneficial to the mission. is beneficial. Like, because you think about contraband, right? All of us are in danger if contraband isn't found, right? And so to know that we've got one person who's most effective and they're the go-to for this thing all the time, I think that's something that we have to be very intentional about, like developing those skills in other people, because it benefits all of us, not just that one person who might be the shiny tool in the shed.
Yeah, I think we all have a habit of when we don't get what we want, and that becomes our focus, the outcome outside of the journey. Just, I didn't get the position. We start looking at people's weaknesses to justify why we ourselves didn't get it, as opposed to looking at their strengths and saying, well, you know what? They are gifted. I could see why they would get this position. We have a habit as being, self-defensive. Well, it wasn't me. How could they get it when this, they must have known somebody or whatever it is, or, question everything from the actual fact that maybe the person was better and maybe the person did deserve this. But again, it's our way of survival. Some people will look inside and say it was me and I'm going to give up. And some people, just because of pride, they'll look at everything else on the outside and say, well, it wasn't me. It was because they knew somebody, or because, the test was rigged. Whatever the case may be. Everybody has different ways of looking at it. And for the most part, the key is, some are healthy ways, some are not healthy ways. But you could tell if it's a healthy way or not by how you start treating people that you were close to. Mm-hmm. Me and you have been studying this whole time, and all of a sudden, now that you got this position, I want nothing to do with you. Well, why is that? That has nothing to do with you. That's all to do with me. Yeah. And my feelings about your success, and me looking at your success as my failure. Again, if I cannot, honor your success without looking at myself as a failure, then our relationship will stray. There's no if and but about it. So I think what we can do right now, to be honest with you, is that every day when we have our interactions with people, a lot of us try to point people's weaknesses out, and very rarely do we ever look at people's strengths and try to motivate them, and try to also motivate ourselves to seeing the best of people. Like this person may not be good at doing count, and we could vent all day at how shitty they are at doing count. But maybe one person could say, yeah, I may not be able to do a count, but that person can do a hell of a search. There's usually no one that ever comes in and kind of shares in the giftedness of the individual. We focus on the negative. And I have a feeling what we need to do is cultivate an environment that really does appreciate the strengths of the individual. So when we do have people that move up and we're not, we admire that, because we admire the strength of what brought that person to that position, as opposed to always looking at those weaknesses and then questioning their ability to be on top. Listen, even when you move up, you're not going to be the best. You're not expected to be the best. But if you can grow, that's the key. So I believe all of us have the ability to grow. I would like to think so. So having said that, we need to start looking at the best in each other. So when people do start to get those higher positions, we understand it. As opposed to, I'm just going to point out the weak, and then if you get it, wow, how did you get it when you can't even do these things right? Yeah, well, maybe I get that, but they can learn these things, but they do this tremendously well. So it's like it's funny, because one of the things I was reading is sometimes people like me, there's a lot of things, guys, I'll be honest with you, I suck at. And it's true. I'm also in a position where I can delegate a lot of the things that I suck at, that can balance me and complement me. But the reason why I think I was promoted into the position I'm in now is because they know I suck at a lot of things. They do, trust me. But I'm tremendous at other things, to the point where I excel. So I may suck at a few things, but I'm so good because I work on my strengths. Like I know that, I could spend time working on my weaknesses, but I'll never be a perfect 10 on these weaknesses. I'll never be. It's just who I am. And I could always delegate those concerns and meet people that can help me complement that. And together, that's great, because we're supposed to help each other. But I've been working on my strengths. And I've gotten to the point where I excel at these certain levels above most people. And they've taken that strict, that myopic, I don't know, I want to say like this one category, this one strength, but it's such a good strength to have that if I have the right people behind me, I can help a team grow. So again, we spend all our time focusing on weaknesses of each other when technically we should be focusing on strengths. And when they move up, we understand it, we get it. But sometimes the cynic in us won't want to see that because again, we get so stuck in our own heads that the only way that we move forward is by hating that person. Because if I don't consider that person weak and I haven't accepted that promotion for them, then how do I look at myself? So what I need to do, as I said, is Connie's success, it's my success. But you didn't get the position. It's okay because we're a team. We're family. Her success does not mean I failed. Connie, would you agree with what I just said about the strengths over the weaknesses?
I do. I do believe that, I think it's probably just easier for people to point out weaknesses because it helps them feel good about themselves, right? And I think that's that point that we raised about diminishing others in order to be that star, right? Like, so we wouldn't encourage that kind of behavior. We don't encourage that kind of behavior. The one thing that kind of just, is resonating with me is that in this conversation, the competitive environment versus non-competitive environment should really not even matter, right? Because the only person, in my opinion, that you should be in competition with is yourself, right? You push yourself to be better than you were yesterday. You push yourself to reach your greatest potential because the fulfillment in that is not coming from external. The fulfillment that you're feeling is going to come from you inside. Like, wow, I am awesome at that. Like, I remember seeing something and someone was like, yo, I am the shit. Right. Like, and I'm saying to myself, gosh, you must really feel good about yourself. But some accomplishments that is just all about your personal growth, I think, because then that confidence that comes out of you reaching your full personal potential, I think that shows up in the workplace differently. And so the competitive environment really wouldn't even affect you because you know what, that person got it great. I'm not there yet. Right. And I think it's having enough insight to know, like, I'm there, or like, yeah, there's still some areas of development for me. And I think I saw this quote about, like, I may not be able to do one thing great, but I can do many small things great, right? Like, so it's kind of like with you talking about, yeah, I can do this thing and it's tremendous, and this one thing that I am excellent at helps me to build an amazing team. But along the way, here it is, you're developing all these other personal capabilities that, like, I feel are invaluable. So, like, even if we're in this competitive space, the healthy competition is what you have in you that's driving you to reach your best potential. That has nothing to do with any outside validation. It has nothing to do with you diminishing anybody else in order for you to feel good about yourself, because you're winning internal. Your winning has nothing to do with what's going on around you.
Yeah, they say pride is really based on comparison. It's not really something from within. It's more based on comparison with someone else. Either way, I'm not going to tell you not to have pride in what you do. It's just a reading that I had that if the pride turns into just pure ego, you know what I mean? That becomes a concern. But like I said, I mean, whatever I've done has always been for the benefit of the team. So if the environment's healthy and you could have something competitive, as long as we're not hiding things from each other, as long in the end we've all grown and we can maintain that growth and keep that momentum, then keep it going. But if at any point that's not working, then obviously now, like Connie said, it becomes a big divide. And now the problem is what could have been something very healthy turns out to be a giant risk. Again, it's a very fine line, and there's some places that do it great, but it really does depend, and I'm going to say it, guys, the maturity of the people, and then management, can they keep that momentum going? Because we may fall back once in a while, but management needs to be on top to keep that momentum going. But I think the key here is the maturity of the people. Connie, round two. You have anything you'd like to say in closing?
All I will say in closing is that this environment we are supposed to be our brothers and sisters, and what brings us together is that there are mutual values that we hold, and that we are moving towards sort of the same mission. And I think if we can keep that in mind, that we are working towards the same goal, right? Like, yes, they're going to be, I want this position, I want this post, this person, I want to be seen a certain kind of way. I get that, right? But at the end of the day, for us to be successful as a unit, we have to be able to be supportive of each other, no matter what space, how high you go, no matter what you achieve. We have to be in a space where we can celebrate each other's victories.
And that's no matter what's at stake. Because in this profession, the moment we stop sharing with each other, the inmates win. I mean, that's what it is. We need to be a team, because if we're not a team, the inmates win. So again, guys, if we're at a point where we do look at it as win-loss, and we do look at it as being divisive in the end, might as well just give the game to the inmates. We should want to push for each other's growth. And in the end, we all achieve. But and then, like we said, if it's unhealthy and we're kind of being devious, do whatever we can to make it to the top, then we don't even know. But the inmates are in the game the whole time, and they're just watching it and letting the world fall apart. As always, guys, the show is Teared Up. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. Bell's going to notify every time I post a video. Stay safe.